What should Pittsburgh do at quarterback?
Well, I do think they're going to end up bringing one of those two quarterbacks back, but I think they have to aim higher. We just heard Omar Khan say their ultimate goal is winning championships. They lost 5 straight games to close this past season. They haven't won a playoff game in nearly a decade. I had them taking Jaxson Dart 21st overall in my last mock draft, much to Mel's chagrin, but I still believe there's a real chance that Jaxson Dart ends up going somewhere in the first round. I have already seen what this team looks like with Justin Fields or Russell Wilson under center. I want this team to aim higher because the Steelers are too good of a franchise to simply compete to make the playoffs and not actually win games.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys real fast. I feel like this draft, especially with the quarterbacks, is a lot more murky. I feel as though last season it was a lot more clear. I mean, we were pretty confident the Chicago Bears were going to get Caleb. And then the Commanders were then going to get Jaden. Like, we knew that, and then everyone else kind of falling in line with the other quarterbacks. I mean, obviously there was going to be some surprise, but really the biggest surprise was Michael Penix, I guess, technically going to the Falcons. But for the most part, everything felt pretty status quo. They tried to act like, oh, maybe the Chargers are going to select J.J. McCarthy, and it was like, no, they're not. But now when we're really kind of starting to get lost in the field, like in this mess, where it's just like, what's the probability of Jaxson Dart going to the Steelers? And it's like, and do you want content around that, about things that could potentially really have no relevance at all? Because if I look back, if I was making videos about J.J. McCarthy going to the Pittsburgh Steelers or something, right? Like, and I'm talking about, oh, I think this would be great for the Steelers and this or that. And then it's just like, if he goes to the Minnesota Vikings, I'm kind of just like, what have we been talking about? And if you guys want to have these conversations and the speculation and all of that, and you just find it fun and interesting or whatever, I'm all for it. I really am. It's just like trying to predict where someone is going to go in the draft, and where it's not like a little bit more like, pretty obvious or clear. It's just, I don't know. I mean, like, granted, I think maybe the better question is to be like, what should the Steelers do at the quarterback position? Do they run it back with Justin Jefferson this time? Justin Fields, I keep doing that. Justin Fields as the actual bona fide full-time quarterback, not the whole kind of song and dance with Russ. Should they draft any quarterback, whether it's, Dart or someone else? Or do they get the Aaron Rodgers? Do they make a play for Stafford? Like, are those conversations more interesting? Like, honestly, like, at this point, I'm just genuinely curious, because I think people kind of take the draft, the approach to the draft a little, everyone kind of tackles it differently. And I just think that the draft is just such mayhem, and it just becomes so impossible to predict. And, I don't even know where to go. I wouldn't even know where to begin with all of this. And again, my frustration to kind of talk about how this would be so, let's say I really believe that this would be awesome, and I'm like, oh my God, this would be amazing. The Steelers, this is going to be so perfect because the Steelers were able to do this and that and this and that and all of this, and then it just like doesn't happen. And then I'm just like what are we talking about then? What are we doing? So yeah, that's honestly my direct question to you all. It's one thing if there was a little bit more insider information and there was like more confidence of some of these things, then again, I get it. But this is just, this is truly just closing your eyes, spinning around in circles, and then just trying to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, which is not my personal brand. I feel uncomfortable just truly making predictions up out of nothing. That's just not how I am. So I would really love to hear your thoughts on this one. I am comfortable moving on from Justin Fields. You had him in your building for a whole year. He did nothing for you. And in terms of nothing for you, in terms of like to impress you, to impress the team itself, the players, etc., that's long enough to be able to see if he's got it or he doesn't. I think the only way that Justin Fields can become something in this NFL is if he really finds his way to a truly elite special coach, or someone that just deeply understands the quarterback position and offense. If he finds himself, with an Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell, like we saw with Sam Darnold, like I think that's still technically possible for Justin Fields. I'm not betting on it. I was confident that someone like a Sam Darnold was going to have, was going to have that success with Kevin O'Connell, but remember he also spent time then also with Shanahan as well. There was still multiple, progress there, and to me it was very clear that he was just in a terrible situation before. I'm not going to act like Justin Fields has been in amazing situations, but I just think that there would still be enough, to kind of excite you about him. And again, I think there's that potential, but the Steelers don't have that coach. And if they did, then you would have your answer right then and there with Justin Fields. They don't have that offensive mind. So the only way that you would bet on Justin Fields actually becoming a special quarterback is if you're now willing to then fire your coach and go out and get an offensive head coach. And that's where going out and being aggressive and taking a chance on like a Ben Johnson would have made sense. Because then you go out and get a Ben Johnson, you have Ben Johnson looking at Justin Fields, and then he says, yeah, I can work with this, or no, what are we doing here? But we got to go out and get a quarterback. Let's go do it. You can have that confidence. That is arguably the biggest risk of not having, and I just made a video talking about this, of not having a true bona fide high-level offensive head coach, because then you can be so much more confident with what to do at the quarterback position and what that specific coach needs or wants or can do with any given quarterback, whether it's to develop him and make him better, whether it's to win now with an already developed, whatever it is. And so that is the issue that the Steelers, one of the issues that the Steelers have from my viewpoint, because it's just not a good place to be in. They keep finding themselves in this very weird quarterback offensive situation. And the only way that I would even have any sense of optimism with Justin Fields is, like I said, if you went out and actually got a big time offensive head coach, or maybe somehow you found your way to get like a Ben Johnson level OC to Pittsburgh. You don't have that. So, and that's also then my concern of even getting like a Jaxson Dart. Like, it's just the way how the Steelers are constructed and the coaching staff. I just struggle to see how they get a quarterback who develops and plays at a high level. And if you actually if the Steelers, let's say they were in a situation where they somehow, go back to last season and they were in a position to draft like a Caleb or Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels, I'm failing to see how the Steelers find themselves in a situation where they win with and Jaden Daniels looks as special and as great, or Bo Nix is able to lead the Broncos to the playoffs for the first time in like a decade. I'm failing to see how they have that season with a young and up and coming quarterback who now clearly needs to be developed and grow and evolve week to week to week. And I see them having more of the Caleb Williams season where you're like, oh, this quarterback clearly has shown us some great stuff, but like this offense is just kind of a mess and they're not really doing a good enough job to develop him and this and that. And like that's the frustrating part. So I'm not so sure that you can just get it's one thing if you brought in maybe like a truly established great quarterback who is already balling. If Aaron Rodgers was like 5 years younger, 6, 7, 8 years younger, Stafford was 5 years younger, if it was a situation where he was in Detroit and it was just that he was a free agent and there wasn't needing a trade for him to go to LA and he was just like, I'm looking for a new team. Yeah, getting a quarterback like that, I think that offense could win, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are set up to be able to do that. But in terms of getting a young quarterback out of the draft, again, didn't work with Kenny Pickett. And quite frankly, the game that Kenny Pickett played with the Philadelphia Eagles was arguably his best. And that says a lot. And it's not just the players. You can't just give all the credit to the players. And if you do, well, then again, it's your fault for not building a better offense. So no matter how you slice it, the Steelers will be at fault. So it's a frustrating situation, and I feel for Steelers fans. This is a time when I'm like looking at all these teams all the time, all the decisions that they have to make. Where can I see them going moving forward? And I just see a lot of teams that are just revving their engine, the tires are moving, and mud is just going everywhere. And I try to find where is the optimism, and I want it to be real optimism and not just like generic nonsense. And it's just sometimes it can be hard to see, which is why I don't love trying to make such extreme predictions so far out. But we will see. But those are just my thoughts I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Pittsburgh Steelers? Do you think they should draft Jaxson Dart? Keeping on with Justin Fields, or maybe even Russ, or maybe be a dark horse for Stafford or Aaron Rodgers? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.